Welcome to our mnemonic video on back pain differential diagnosis. Let's get started. This scene will take place at a horse ranch. This ranch will help us learn all about the differential diagnosis of back pain. Now take a look at that fence. It seems like it's composed of kidney stones. These kidney-shaped stones are a recurring symbol for kidney stones, which can be a cause of back pain. So kidney-shaped stones for kidney stones. Attached to the fence, we see food and a water trough. If we take a closer look at the water trough, we can see a representation of the three meningeal layers. The far edge of the trough against the fence represents the pia mater. The water covered by spider webs represents the cerebral spinal fluid in the subarachnoid space, and the outer edge of the trough represents the dura mater. Now notice that there is some food left on the border just outside the subarachnoid water trough. The way that food looks should remind you of an abscess, specifically an epidural abscess, which can cause back pain. Now we can see a horse with a golden tail that's approaching the food trough. The term horse's tail in Latin translates to cauda equina, which should make you think of cauda equina syndrome. This is a condition that occurs when the spinal roots below the lower end of the spinal cord are damaged, which presents with a variety of symptoms including low back pain, which can radiate down the leg. It can also cause bladder incontinence and saddle anesthesia. So this horsetail should remind you of cauda equina syndrome, which can be a cause of back pain. And the saddle on the horse should remind you of saddle anesthesia that accompanies this condition. Coming to join our horse at the feeding trough is his elderly friend who came running out of the open gate. Notice the horse's cracked hooves. They look suspiciously like cracked vertebral bodies. Also notice the age of this horse. It's got gray hair on its mane and tail. Anyway, this idea should remind you of vertebral compression fractures that are seen more in the elderly population. So cracked hooves for vertebral compression fractures, which can be a cause of back pain. In a mad rush to catch the runaway horses, the cowboy tried to grab the saddle of our horse with the compressed and cracked hooves. In his haste, however, this man accidentally pulled out the cushion beneath the saddle, which made him lose his balance. So we can see his leg raised as he falls down. This cushion here should remind you of the intervertebral disc, which acts as a cushion between the vertebrae. And the fact that it's being pulled out should make you think of intervertebral disc herniation that causes impingement of nerves, which is another cause of back pain. Also, the rancher's raised leg should remind you of the leg raise test, which causes tension on the impinged nerves, causing pain. So again, a pulled out cushion for intervertebral disc herniation. Now we can see why that door to the barn is open. These ranchers tried to install a wireless lock on the barn's door, but it looks like they weren't so lucky after all. The batteries exploded and destroyed the remote control, and now the horses are running away. If we look closer, we can see a swollen, exploded AAA battery flying away. This is quite the ranch debacle. Anyway, the swelling of the battery should remind you of an aneurysm, specifically an abdominal aortic aneurysm, which can be abbreviated to AAA, like that on the battery. And that explosion reminds us of rupture. So putting all this together, the exploded swollen AAA battery should make you think of a ruptured abdominal aortic aneurysm, which is another potential cause of back pain. As they say, when it rains, it pours. With all the chaos of dead batteries and escaping horses, it seems like a storm is coming in too. We can tell by the way the weathercock on top of the barn moves, spinning like crazy and not giving any specific direction of the wind. So I guess we could say it's non-specific. And this idea should remind you of the non-specific causes of back pain, which are the most common causes. With the storm coming in and the temperature dropping, the ranchers decided to make a bonfire to keep warm using whatever they could find in the barn on short notice. It looks like they're using some old pipes to burn. Pipes or piping materials on fire is our recurring symbol for pyelonephritis. Pipes on fire, pyelonephritis, which can be another cause of back pain. Well, it seems that they are not only burning old stuff from the barn, they're also cutting down some dead tree branches. Notice that the tree looks like a pair of lungs, and if we look closely, we can see a saw lodged in the dead part of the tree. Also, the leafless branches distal to the saw resemble what happens to the lung that is no longer receiving blood supply because of an embolus. So that saw in the lung-shaped tree should remind you of a pulmonary embolism, which is another possible cause of back pain. And with that, we've covered everything you need to know about the differential diagnosis for back pain.